Hello everyone, in this video we're going to draw a skull. Start by drawing a circle as a guide for the top part of the skull. An easy way to draw a circle is to first draw a couple of guidelines. Draw a vertical line to determine the height of the circle. The length of this line will determine the size of your circle. Make a small mark on the halfway point of the line. Make this mark longer to create a horizontal line. Make both lines about the same length. You're basically creating a big plus sign. At the top tip of the vertical line, make a small mark for the top edge of the circle. At the bottom tip, make another small mark for the bottom edge of the circle. Make sure that the distances between the small marks and the middle of the plus sign are about the same. Make a couple more small marks on the tips of the horizontal line for the sides of the circle. Now connect the small marks using curved lines to finish the shape of the circle. Sketch lightly at first so that it's easy to erase if you make a mistake. Also, pause the video as you follow along to draw at your own pace. Extend the vertical line farther down so that it's below the circle. Far down on the vertical line, make a small mark to determine the bottom edge of the lower jaw. The distance between the bottom edge of the circle and the small mark should be about the same as half of the circle. Make the mark longer to create a horizontal line. On the tips of the line, make a couple of small marks to determine the width of the chin. Halfway between the bottom edge of the circle and the horizontal line, lightly sketch a longer horizontal line. This line will help you determine the width of the jaw. Now connect the small marks to the circle using long sloping lines to create the sides of the jaw. The top of this shape should be wide and the bottom narrow. Slightly higher than the bottom edge of the circle, make another small mark. Add a couple more small marks on the sides where the jaw meets the circle. Connect these small marks using long curved lines to create a long curved horizontal line. This is another construction guide that will help you place the facial features. And that's it for the guidelines. Now let's start on the final drawing. On top of the horizontal line, draw a couple of short curved lines for the first part of the eyes. Place the eyes on either side of the vertical guide. Draw the outer tips of the lines higher up than the inner tips. Close off the shape of each eye at the top using a sloping line. The shapes of the eyes should be similar to triangles. Curve the inner tips of the eyes up to create a furrowed brow. Sketch lightly at first and only darken the lines when you get the shapes right. Draw shorter curved lines on the outer tips of the eyes too. Draw a long curved line on the left side for the outer edge of the eye socket. This guide should be similar to a backward letter S. On the right side, draw a similar line for the outer edge of the other eye socket. This line should be similar to the letter S. Directly on the vertical line and below the curved horizontal line, lightly sketch a small triangular shape for the nose. Make the bottom of the shape wider than the top. The bottom of the nose should be below the lower edge of the initial circle. Draw a small angled line for the top of the nose. Draw a curved horizontal line above the lightly sketched line inside the jaw. This line will determine the bottom edge of the top jaw. Sketch lightly at first and only darken the line when you get the shape right. Lightly sketch a couple of long curved lines on the sides for the edges of the top jaw. Curve the line on the left up toward the tip of the horizontal construction guide. This line will create the cheekbones. Draw a similar line on the right side for the other cheekbone. The tips of the cheekbones should be pointy and they should extend farther out than the initial guides. Near the bottom edge of the lower jaw, draw a horizontal line for the open mouth. Extend the sides of the line higher up to meet the cheekbones. This guide should be similar to a wide letter U. Draw a series of small arcs along the bottom edge of the top jaw for teeth. Don't make the teeth too big. Make a couple of teeth on the sides pointy for the canines. Add a couple of thinner shapes on the sides for the molars. Draw a few short lines above the shapes for the bases of the teeth. Curve the lines in toward the nose. Draw a series of small shapes along the top edge of the lower jaw for more teeth. Make each shape flat at the top and curved at the bottom. Make the lower teeth smaller than the top teeth. Make the teeth on the sides pointy for the canines. Leave a gap at the bottom for a missing tooth. Draw a long thin shape on each side of the lower jaw for the molars. Sketch lightly at first and only darken the lines when you get the shapes right. Split the shapes of the molars using short horizontal lines. Add a couple more lines on the sides to give the jaw structure. Darken the outer edges of the initial guide to create the rest of the lower jaw. Curve the sides of the shape inward to create structure. Make the bottom edge of the jaw flat. Now darken the top part of the circle for the rest of the skull. Make the sides of the skull flatter than the initial circle. Add a couple more curved lines between the eyes for creases. Add a few lines above the nose too. Draw a few curved lines below the eyes for a spooky look. Curve these lines in toward the nose. Add a few more lines to the top jaw to give it structure. Inside the eyes, draw small half circles for the pupils. You can skip this step to create empty eye sockets. Draw a couple more curved lines above the eyes to emphasize the thick brow. Draw a couple of long wavy lines on the top right side for a crack on the skull. Make the final lines darker than the guides. And that's it for the skull. Now just go over the final lines with permanent ink, erase the guides, and color your drawing. The next few steps are sped up so that the video isn't too long, but make sure that you go over your final lines slowly and carefully to avoid any accidents. For more tutorials like this one, please visit EasyDrawingTutorials.com. Let me know in the comments what else you want to see me draw. Don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep drawing.